Good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining the webinar. We shall wait for a couple of minutes for the other attendees to join in. Thank you.
Tanmay, please background noise मत करना.
Prashant, would request you to please mute. Good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining the webinar. My name is Mona Lisa Bhagat, and I'm a manager with Rispro India. I would like to give you a brief overview of our company, Rispro India Ventures Private Limited. Rispro India is a risk management and consulting firm, and we are in this business for more than 10 years, serving more than 525 clients. We have our head office in Mumbai and have presence in 7 other cities. We have team members of 65 plus. We have our 5 main business verticals: risk advisory, IT advisory, trainings, technology, and recruitment. With respect to risk advisory, we help our clients with internal audits, internal financial controls, ERM and risk assessments, SOPs, and more. In IT advisory, we help with GDPR compliances, SSA 18 SOC audits, PDP reviews, 21 CFR, HIPAA, and other services. With respect to training, we give classroom and online trainings for enterprise risk management, risk assessment and mitigation, anti-corruption and bribery, anti-money laundering, and many more. In technology, we provide softwares like internal audit software, risk management software, third-party risk management software through our technology partners as per the company requirements. In recruitment, we provide full-time and part-time risk and audit professionals and virtual risk managers as per the company requirements. Today's webinar is for 60 minutes and out of which 10 to 15 minutes will be for question and answer session. During the webinar, all the participants will be on mute mode, that is listen only mode. If any participant would like to ask any questions, we would request them to write in the questions tab, which will be taken at the end of the session. If the participant is facing any issue of not hearing the speaker or unable to view the PPT, then I would request them to write in the questions tab and we would look into the same. The speaker for today's webinar is Mr. Prashant Gupta from Firmware. I would like to now I would like Mr. Prashant to now take it over. Mr. Prashant, you're on mute.
Hello.
Yes, we can
Am
hear
I
you. Yes,
great? And is my screen visible?
yes, yes.
Okay, great. Thank you, Mona Lisa, for a warm welcome and setting up the tone for the webinar. Uh, we would, the way you have prescribed, we would go in that particular manner in terms of the agenda. Quickly, let me just check why my screen. Yeah, it should be in a presentation mode. So quickly, we'll start with a brief introduction. So I like to just quickly introduce about myself. So I am Prashant Gupta, co-founder at Firmware. So basically, I have been an auditor myself back in 2014 to 16, and then post that we started with a journey wherein we faced multiple challenges in our audit profession, as well as when we were working closely with the corporates we found that multiple challenges are being faced by corporates, which could be easily solved through automation. That is something which motivated us and my co-founder Vivek Chandan, and we started this journey of automating account functions back in 2016. And for past 5 years, we have worked specifically in this area in terms of understanding with companies what are their challenges, etc working with SMEs, working with large entities, MNCs, etc., and identifying how the problem statement remains the same, the volume changes, however, the problem statement remains the same across different companies, different sizes, different industries. And that's where, with this kind of an expertise which we have developed over a period of 5 years, we present in terms of what are the challenges we have seen, and maybe you can everyone can resonate for that, and would how we can actually solve them with the live solutions and the case studies which we have seen across. So this is a brief introduction about ourselves. I like to also welcome all the participants to come on a Friday morning amidst the office working hours to give time to this session. It really shows how people are very focused in terms of digital transformation technology in terms of solving the regular business problems. So I like to especially thank RiskPro for arranging this kinds of webinar for all the attendees. They're doing a great job in terms of covering different kind of topics, different kind of issues, and the solutions for that. So that's a really great thing to do. Uh, Quickly, like I said, the agenda would be we would be giving an introduction to the current industry 4.0 quickly in terms of how technology can help you solve five things: working capital issues, liquidity, profitability, financial reporting, and compliance. The third would be actual demo of the solution. So that would be a quick demo, definitely, considering the time constraint. But in terms of how the solution actually work on the ground, instead of talking just theoretically. And lastly, we'll keep a session of 10 minutes for the question and answers. Definitely, any questions you have, you can put it in the Q&A session, and we will be make sure that we answer almost all the questions which has been asked by the attendees. So quickly, I'll start with the introduction of 4.0. So definitely, you would all be many of you would already know the four industrial revolutions has gone through. So the first one was back in 1784, where there was mechanization, introduction of steam and water power. The second in revolution which came was in 1870 with respect to mass production, assembly lines using electrical power. So the third Industry 3.0 was recently in terms of 1969. That was more of computers, IT system, robotic processes, automated productions, etc. And the current industrial revolution we are on is Industry 4.0, which has started back in 2011. Still, definitely there are many people who have become are yet to become a part of it. This industry revolution has seen a huge kind of a development in terms of technology per se, in terms of say smart factory, IoT, machine learning, artificial intelligence, wherein the data has become the new oil, wherein the way a company can use the data they have created over past number of years, how they can use that data to predict every each and everything of their businesses. So that is where we are already 10 years into this, and many of the companies definitely have started making use. There are hundreds of use cases which has come out for AI, ML, etc., and people have benefited hugely among this. It is time that our Indian companies also start adopting that. Also, many of us have already done that, and we like to acknowledge them. And many of us are yet to do that. But one thing which has been always constant in all these revolutions across years, across time, which history speaks us, is either there is no way back once the revolution has been done. So if you have one person has to kind of adopt to it, or he is forced to shut down. So that is what we see the challenge and or the benefit. The either way we can do that. The early adopters are the persons who are going to get the benefit the most as compared to the late adopters. So now this is what we see, and this is where we now not only speak about how the revolution is coming and what all the technologies are available in, but also in terms of how you can actually start using it, how you can start implementing this in small things which you do, so that over a period of time, say a year, 2 years, 5 years, you are able to completely get into this particular mode. So that is where what we right now are focusing on this particular segment in this particular webinar is on how the revenue leakages, on the specific point of revenue leakages. So what we've seen that a business which is growing fast or a large scale business, they start dealing with hundreds and thousands of parties in terms of customers and vendors. And this is where there are a lot of inefficiency which comes up into the system, because once you're dealing with these many people, there are ought to be differences, ought to be delays. Once you grow your employee, the management becomes separate, the owners become separate, and the employees become separate. So that way there are multiple people involved, and there are chances of a lot of inefficiency coming into the system. Few of them we have listed down. The major impact once you start growing up is on a collection cycle. As compared to your industry standards, we have seen companies having collection cycle of 90 days, 120 days, 150 days, which is a huge number of collection cycle versus their average credit period of say 30 days and so. So the reason we'll understand how we can work on that, but this is one of the area which creates a huge impact on the company's bottom line profitability and working capital. Another area which we have seen is, say on the customer front, they are making some deductions which our accounts team is not aware of, they have not accounted, etc. So those are the issues which we have seen, and not accounted, not collected on timely basis. Not, the payment is delayed. So even if say you owe a person 1 lakh rupee, he owes you. But if there is a difference of 10,000, he'll owe you the entire 90,000 rupees also till the time that difference is resolved. So these deductions which are unaware and not solved on time becomes a huge problem for the company. On the vendor side, we've seen issues on GST credits. So this is with the advent of GST. This was one of the biggest challenge for the companies was that the rule basically that the company can only take credit of those GST which is available on GST at 2B. Now this is where if the vendors are not doing a timely filing or there are any issues with that or the vendors are not compliant, then it creates a problem for the company. So they're paying the tax twice, once to the vendor and once again to the government. So this is something which we have seen an impact on the bottom line again. On the vendor side, duplicate payments is also a big area where a single invoice is processed twice, and once it is processed twice, it is then paid twice by the company till the time they do the reconciliation and identify such cases. TDS mismatches is another bigger issue, whether it comes to customer, whether they have deducted on timely basis, whether it is reflecting on 26 AS, and if yes, doing the 26 AS reconciliation, etc., to identify that. And on the vendor side, have we booked the invoice on a timely manner? Because another issue on the vendor side is that the invoices are not booked on time. So maybe the vendor has raised an invoice at a particular branch or a unit or a plant, and that invoice has not reached to the accounts team on time. So there is a delay in recording, there is a delay in GST credit, there is a delay in TDS deduction, etc., which carries the risk of late payment charges or disallowances of expenses, etc. So that is what we see a bigger issue also in terms of TDS. And the last is in terms of bad debts and write-offs. So maybe the industry have become used to offer write-off, say 2%, 3% of their total revenue. So that's a huge amount which companies are spending on bad debts and write-offs. The common reasons is that the accounts have been running for a long period of time, and we do not have any kind of a legal confirmations from them or a legal acknowledgement from them that they agree to that balance. And once the if there is kind of a dispute, there is kind of a difference, and then the entire thing starts moving to a bad debts or a provisioning of that, and without any legal evidence, etc., we then face the challenge of going into a legal matter and then facing trouble in terms of clearing debt and bad debts and all those kind of a thing. So that is what we see is how we these are not, right now we have listed around 6 points, but the list can go up to 50, 80 points where the companies are actually facing. Right now at Firmware, what we have also identified that how specifically to your customers and vendors, how we can help you take care of all these issues which are coming up. So that is where right now we'll restrict our session to in terms of how we can automate different areas. So say issues with your customers and vendors with respect to their balances, with respect to their differences, difference in their, like we saw the issues like TDS, the issues like GST, etc. There are wherein these balances, if not reconciled on timely basis or not identified on timely basis, creates a losses for the company. So that the first solution which can help in do that is confirmation. So this module, what it does is basically it integrates with your accounting software. It will pick up the data of your customers, vendors, their closing balance, their open and their contact details, and their ledgers or the open items. Reach out to all these parties or emails, SMS, follow up with them till the time they share the details with a constant email and SMSs. It escalates the matter if they are not responding to the senior team out there, and then it collects the data from the customer or the vendor from the third party, saying that if they agree or if they don't agree. If they don't agree, what is the balances per their book, and getting their ledger copy. So the entire purpose of this module is basically to give you a dashboard in terms of this is your total, say you're dealing with 500 parties, your outstanding is 20 crores. Out of 500, these many people have read, this many people have responded, etc. Out of 20 crores, 17 crores have been confirmed. Out of 17 crores, there is a difference of 4 crores which has been highlighted. And out of that, these are the reconciliation which has been done. Around say 3 crores of reconciliation has already been done. So it gives a real time input to the top management directly that this is what our book says versus this is what the reality is. So that is the kind of the solution which the confirmation module provides. And then we, once the ledger has been collected from this particular module, it goes to the reconciliation module, where we have the ledger reconciliation with customers, vendors, banks, etc. So what this module does is, your the third party would be using n number of accounting software. It could be on your Tally, SAP, Oracle, Navision, etc. So in those cases, the system would definitely understand their ledger and then identify line by line item. It will reconcile with your accounting ledger, and will highlight that, okay, out of these 100 or 1,000 transactions you have done with that party, these are that 15 transaction where there is a difference. Like these are the 5 invoices raised by vendor not booked by company, or these are 4 payments which is not recorded by the vendor, or these are 5 debit notes raised by your customers but not accounted by you. So this is an activity wherein you can do this monthly, fortnightly, etc., wherein the system will roll out to all the parties, collect their data, analyze it, and identify those issues, which can be immediately resolved by your team, or can be sent to the opposite party for their sign. Another use case for the GST part per se we have released was this GST reconciliation, where a purchase register versus GST are to be reconciliation, which will identify which of your vendors have given you the credits, which have not given you the credits, and if they have not given, then it will also follow up with them to collect their responses, whether why they have not given it. Are they going to correct it? If they are correcting it, the screenshot of that. If they're not correcting it, the reason of that. So that is where you don't have to spend time in reaching out to these vendors and getting their responses. That is totally managed by the tools which are available in the market. So that is another use case. Another small use case for the confirmation is more towards where the audit firms, for them, wherein they want to do an audit confirmation. Say whether they want an independent confirmation from the auditees, customer, vendor, and bank. So the software can help them give an independent window and wherein they can manage the entire process. On another small use case is MSME status confirmation. So again, this is where the companies want to, with the regulation wherein half yearly you have to file to the ROC that which of your vendors are micro, small, medium, and if they are micro, small, medium, have you paid them more delayed than 45 days? Then you have to report them into this thing. Also, for the caro reporting, you have to identify the auditors that how much outstanding is there to the MSME vendors. Now, this MSME vendor definition keeps on changing year on year. Recently, in the budget, the MSME definition was increased vastly. So, wherein now many of your vendors, which were not MSME before, which will now become an MSME. So that is where the government asks you to do this process of reaching out to your vendors and asking whether they are MSME or not. So this is a process which can also be entirely automated by the system. So these are the different compliance use cases also where the solution could be helpful, not only in terms of increasing your profitability and working capital. Another major area where we were discussing on how companies are facing issues in their collection management, in terms of the collection cycle compared to the industry standard. This is where the solutions are available, wherein they can integrate with your ERP, fetch the details of your outstanding balances, the list of customers, reach out to them over emails, SMSs, sharing the outstanding on that, and asking whether when are they going to clear it, or to ask them to clear it as soon as possible. Once they can either clear it, they can either give you a promise date, which is when they are going to give you a payment, or third, they can highlight the issues. So we've seen, when we were interacting with hundreds of corporates in India, the simplest reason why a customer has not paid you, that he has not received, the accounts team has not received the invoice copy. Now, if that simple reason is where you are delaying your payment by say another 10 days, 15 days, 20 days, which is a big cost for the companies with terms of finances. Now, the solution, they can immediately highlight that for these 3 invoices, I'm yet to receive the invoice copy. Or for this invoice, I have raised a debit note because of a payment issue or a quality issue, and this is the report attached. So this is basically interactive module where they can also give raise the issues, and it directly comes to the accounts team. So this is an activity which companies does on a weekly, that every Monday, whatever the outstanding is, it will go to these customers and will ask them whether they have to clear the payment or provide the reasons or the promised date. So that is where the solutions could be helpful to manage that. Further, the another benefit of such solution is that you can keep your business, the sales managers for the respective customers into the loop. So if there is any query which the accounts team is not solving, can be solved by the sales team. So that is where keeping all the stakeholders on one platform is where the solution is very useful. Moving ahead, in terms of the last piece is the data management collection. So this is where a small utility, it is a multi-utility solution where say you want to update your master data, or you want to collect certain documentations, etc. You are a e-commerce, a chemical, dealing in a chemical industry, or a e-commerce platform wherein you want to get all the vendors which are there, you want to collect their certification, licenses, etc, as and when you keep on releasing the product. So you want to collect all those things from them, or simple use case like you want to onboard a vendor or a customer. So you want to collect their basic KYC details, their PAN details, GSTN details, etc. So this is a that module wherein you can customize your requirement form for your company and can roll it out to all the parties. It will automatically follow up, validate the response, collect the data, analyze the data. It can also give you an option to accept, reject, and then everything is managed by that, so you don't have to time. So basically the entire purpose of technology is that you don't spend time on monotonous tasks, you don't spend time on just communicating, calling, emailing these parties. Everything can be automated. Where we have to spend time is the qualitative aspects, wherein if there is a difference, then why there is a difference. So if these are the reconciliation issues which I've highlighted, then working on that, identifying those facts, etc., and agreeing with the party. So that is where you have to spend time, and not in terms of just communicating with these parties, etc. And that is where these number of kind of solutions look simple, but is very impactful in terms of when it comes to the bottom line profitability, etc. So moving ahead, what we will do is we will start with we will pick one particular problem statement, understand that problem statement, and see how it can be resolved through solution. So let us start with balance confirmation and reconciliation. The problem out there is, see, even if you're dealing with 500 parties, customers, vendors combined, doing a monthly, quarterly confirmations or an annual confirmation reconciliation is not possible. The general strategy which has been adopted by the company is, wherever there is a red flag or wherever the vendor is complaining or a customer is not doing the payment, the the process starts. So it's not a kind of a periodic activity which company is doing, but it is most of a post-mortem activity where there is a problem which has come up and then company started doing that. And this is the reason why we face so many issues in terms of delays, bad debts, write-offs, or in terms of the differences in debit notes, credit notes, unreconciled account, reconciled differences, etc., which has been piled up for say year, 2 years, 5 years, etc., and not reconciled till date. So that is where the problem statement is. And if you were to say, if you were to think that I will start from today reconciling all these parties on a monthly or a quarterly basis, you will spend easily 1,000 man days for these particular, even say 2 man day per party. With that, it is a cost of say 4 employees dedicated for this particular purpose around the year, and which is an easy cost of 20 lakh rupees for just 500 parties. So now this is what the companies generally do, a trade-off versus doing it, spending 20 lakhs versus spending time or having a loss of say around 1 or 2% of your revenue, which is around 10% again of your profitability. So this is where the technology can come in. It will help you do the entire process on a monthly or a quarterly basis, but not at this cost, but a fraction of this cost. So which becomes a profitable move for the company, wherein they'll be able to come over all those issues, however, at a very fraction of the cost. So this is how the entire confirmation and reconciliation would work. So like I said, it will integrate, it will take the data from your ERP, follow up, collect the responses, reconcile them, and provide you the reporting. And this is how the dashboard would be available. So how many people have read, how many people have responded in value, what is the difference, and what is reconciled. So what we can do is we can quickly post this, go to the demo. So once you have collected ledgers, say you have deal with 500 parties, you have collected the ledgers from them, automatically the system will start reconciling them. So your ledger would be taken from the ERP and the party's ledger would be taken from that confirmation module. And then it will start that analysis process to identify that the benefit of this is basically it can understand any accounting software's ledger. So whether it is Tally, Zoho, QuickBooks, ERP, SAP, Navision, Oracle, etc., or it is your customized ERP, etc. of the companies, it can support unstructured data. So this is another specific issue which we as an Indian companies face, wherein the data, the account is the transactions are not recorded always on the same date, or the transaction number or the document number is not recorded exactly. So there could be space, special character. There are also limitation of the accounting software, etc., wherein you cannot share, you cannot record the hyphen or special characters, etc. So then it tends to become that your accounting is not the document numbering is not proper, or there is a rounding of error into the system, etc. The system can immediately rectify and work on all those things to identify the real issue and not get lost into just matching the already matched items. It can do a document level matching, whether it is doing a purchase, all the entries one by one. It is not going to do at a group level. And then it works with the advanced proprietary algorithms. So basically, specified to Indian audience, the SMEs, the large enterprises, etc. And these algorithms can further be trained so that it can try and understand your specific ledgers and can give you your specific outputs. So that is where the system will be able to give you, say, 90 to 95% of the matches by the system itself. So you don't have to spend time just doing the manual matches, identifying the errors and rectify and then doing the matches. The system will do that entirely for you. So that is how the entire solution works. Another part is once the reconciliation is done, you also want to get the sign off. So that is where you can get the party sign off from the system. So this is how the entire solution would work. So like what, let me just move to a live demo of the solution. So basically it's a say right now for firmware, if you are using that for the solution, it is a web-based platform, so you can be the account would be created for you. You don't have to install softwares, etc. You can just the relevant users can be created. If it is a company, then the head office, branches, their managers, their junior accountants, etc. would be given an access. The top management would be given an access. If it is an audit firm, then the partners, managers, and the articles would be given an access to the system so that they can manage their relevant audits. So right now, say first is where we pull in this data from the ERP. There are three ways. One, either you prepare an Excel file and upload it into the system. The second way is where you basically integrate with your accounting system and the data would be pulled on a automated basis. So every month through APIs, it will pull off this data from your ERP. Or thirdly, you can also create an extract. We already have extractors for these accounting softwares, say Tally, etc. You can just download that extractor and that Excel file would be released. So let me just show you how that Excel file would be created into the system. So basically, you can here you can select the type of audit which you're doing, whether it's a statutory audit, then the auditor will get an access, internal audit, or it could be just a management confirmation where the management has an access to the system. Whether you are doing a balance confirmation, MSME status, a stock or a transaction or a bank balance, you can select that. Uh, then for which particular group company, if you are doing that, or your main company, you for which particular branches you are doing this process, and as on which date you want a confirmation. Say as on 6th of Feb or March 20, etc. So you are doing this quarterly, then it would be a quarterly date. and then you will upload this Excel file into the system. So the Excel file looks similarly in terms of this, wherein this is a sample which can be extracted directly from the accounting software, or it can pull out this data from the ERP through the API. But for the exploration purpose, let me just show you this, wherein your customer code, vendor code, name of the party, pen details, branch details, if any, name, email ID, mobile number to whom you're sending on the opposite party side. You can send it up to 5 people, so it takes care of your escalation. It takes care, you can keep the business team of the party, you can keep the accounts team of the party, and you can keep the senior team of the party. So if the part either of them are, then can respond to you, and it increases the response rate. You can also keep your relevant sales manager or the purchase manager for the relevant customer and the vendor respectively in the loop, so that they are also aware which of their parties are not responding to these requests, and they can also start taking actions on that. So that is what you can get the data in this particular format, and there are closing balances, currencies, etc. If you're dealing with export imports, or you the different type of balances like debtors, creditors, advances, loans, interest, so and so forth. Further, it can also take the ledgers like with the opening balances, transactions, and closing balances of the relevant parties, say XYZ Limited. So all your hundreds or thousands of parties would be one below the other, and their ledgers would be relevantly picked up by the customer code, attach it in a PDF or an Excel, and roll out these confirmations. So that is how the entire system works. Or you can just share your opening outstanding balances into the system, open items. So that way, that can also be shared with the opposite parties. So once you have done that, you have uploaded the file into the system. It gives you errors and warnings if any. And basis on that, if your email IDs, mobile numbers are wrong, it would be highlighted. Once you have cleared that, you can just approve it. Once it is approved, you can send the confirmations. So here you can select like click on send confirmations, and there are three things: how many reminders you want to schedule and in what interval. So you can send 5 reminders every third day, or 5 reminders every seventh day. So in say 50 days you'll be able to collect the maximum responses, or it could be 5 reminders third day, 15 days. So that is where a second, from which email ID these should be rolled out. So it would be actually rolled out from your say confirmations email ID, or the relevant accounts manager's email ID, etc. You can send it from your company domain. And thirdly, whom to be contacted if there is any related query. So that could be highlighted. So once that is selected, you can click on send. So right now with this particular mode, you will be able to send hundreds or thousands of confirmation in a minute. So you don't have to do the traditional process of printing or sending it on couriers, or doing emailing through a mass mail tool or through individually emails, etc. Everything would be automated by the system. However, sending requests is not a challenge for the companies. The challenge comes post that, like people, and that's where the software we can see the utility. So now one the solution, the companies would be getting the emails from the companies from their official email ID without firmware branding, and they will just receive that we wish to inform you this company is using this platform for confirmation, and respond to the balance confirmation of this company, this branch, this day. So once that is done, so they can, what they can do is they can just click on this link. There is a video user guide which is available. They can just click on the link. They don't have to register. They don't need to be there on the software. They can directly click on that link, and they can see the outstanding balance as per the your company, and the closing balance, the attachments if any. And they have two options: amount is correct or amount is incorrect. If it is incorrect, they can write in their balance. They can give remarks if any. They can attach their ledger documents. So here they can attach their ledger copy, outstanding statement, etc. And they can just click on confirm button. So we have seen the fastest responding coming in as fast as 2 minutes of sending this request. So that's the kind of speed of the technology can bring to the companies. So once you click on confirm button, your the response is successfully submitted and displayed on the dashboard. There is also an optional screen to reconcile. Now the parties can themselves do the reconciliation. There is a difference of 1,15,000. The parties can go ahead and explain that, okay, if it is your vendor, it will highlight that invoice number 4 and 5 you have not booked. worth rupees 1,15,000, and they can attach that invoice copies over in the details section, which is a chat window which is available. So here they can attach their copies, they can attach their comments. It's basically a chat window between you, your business team, say the sales manager or the purchase manager for the relevant party, and your accounts team. And if the auditors are there, then the auditor. So that all the stakeholders are there on one place and they can resolve their disputes as soon or misunderstanding as fast as possible. And it can and the entire paperwork is also taken care instead of just some whatsapping or messaging or calling or emailing, etc. Everything gets noted at one single place. So this is optional. Among the lakhs of confirmation which are channelized annually through the system, we have seen that 20% of the vendors and customers actually doing this reconciliation and submitting. So that is the kind of time which the company can straightforward save on this reconciliation. They can also skip this process of reconciliation and they can come on the platform. So this is how the dashboard you all management and your accounts team would look like. So wherein how many people have read, how many people have responded, how many people have not yet opened the email, how many people have responded, etc. Value wise, what is the statistics? Say out of 7.9 lakhs is outstanding, so how much is customers, how much are vendors received. Further, you'll get an analysis of excess confirmation, short confirmation, and that total difference would be highlighted here. And out of that, how much has been reconciled, and how much justification has been already given by the opposite third party or by the accounts team, so that the management is well aware of that. Okay, it is in control, or there is some red flag, etc. And below here, all your customers and vendors would be listed down with their individual stages, like how many people have not yet opened the email, how many people it is failed. You can immediately correct their email IDs here and send it. How many people have read? It captures their IP address, date, and time. So, which is very useful in case where you are sending them a negative confirmation saying that 15 days may if you don't respond, we will assume you have agreed to the balance, which is also a legal valid confirmation. So that is something which will be very helpful where we capture their IP address, date, and time, and whether they have responded. If they have responded, is there a difference in the balance? If yes, you can go and check the reconciliation here or provide your reconciliation. There will be two columns, one as per the company, one as per the party. So that can be provided. So that is how the solution would work. And then you can do the entire documentation part of it. Second aspect of it comes to the reconciliation part of it. So once that is done, you can go to the reconciliation section. You can go to the account reconciliations. So wherein the new reconciliation could be created into the system, whether you are doing a water for party, whether you're doing an all item, open item reconciliations, etc. So that could be highlighted over here. And once that reconciliation has been created, it's simple, like you have to just upload both the files into the system, your file and the company file, and the system will automatically understand what ledger is there using machine learning and the inbuilt logics. It will automatically understand the ledgers and your ledger as well the party ledger, and you can just click on auto reconcile and the reconciliation would be done based on your account number, account date, document number, document date, document type, amount, and other parameters. It will start doing those permutation combination till the time it removes those 90% of the entries, 95%, and give you those 5% entries where there are actual differences. Once approved, you can send it back to the party for their approval. So that is how the entire reconciliation part would also look like. So moving ahead, so this is how your balance confirmation and reconciliation activity could be done. Moving ahead, our second solution problem statement was customer collection. So what typical problems we have seen in this particular case is say that 90% of the invoices are in India are paid late. Multiple manual processes due to lack of automation. You are maybe you are every Monday you are sending this on emails one by one to all the customers. There is a dedicated person who work on the collection cycle, etc. And definitely there are a limitation when a human is working on the basic part of it. Cash flow mismanagement because of display delayed payments, involvement of multiple people. You also want the collection team to be involved, accounts team to be involved, and the sales team to be involved, so that once if all these three people are involved, stakeholders, it creates a lot of issues if there is no common platform where it is stored. and inaccurate customer contacts, etc. So just to give a number to the problem, say you have a 25 crore receivable, and even if the payment is delayed by 45 days, you lose around 30 lakhs of rupees. And if you were to save that, if you were to do it through you are hiring people, then you will have to spend 400 man days to do this, and that is where again it attracts a huge cost for the company. So how the solution could work here is through the ERP. Every Monday it will fetch out the outstanding contact details. It will reach out to all the customers, vendors, and the way we have seen the entire solution working, this is how the emailers would be triggered to them. So they would be getting the bill-wise details of this outstanding, etc. They have to confirm the outstanding and immediate settlement. They have an option. You can also share the outstanding on the page of the email or inside the link, so that the way you want to do that, and they can either again it is a similar way. They can respond to it via promise date. They can respond to it via the why there is a difference, or they can take another they can release the payment. So either of the three way, we will be able to collect the responses. The relevant sales manager can also be there in the loop again. The relevant the purchase team of the customer and their accounts team can be there. The senior team can also be there, so that your emails are not missed out. Further, the communications are also sent on SMSs, so that people who are not active on email IDs, they can actually see those outstanding on their SMSs, etc. Further, if you were to look at for the WhatsApp, sending your outstanding on the WhatsApp, that is also a possibility. Through technology, you can do that as well. Now, the third problem statement, we were discussing about the GST reconciliation process. In the GST reconciliation, if you were to see the challenges that we have to, I am assuming that most of us would be already knowing the challenges in GST at two-way, and how like identifying vendors who have not filed or corrected their GST returns, etc. Or the major challenge is where the vendors have not given you the credit at the and it is not reflecting on GST at 2B on 11th of the next month. So if you don't have that, you'll not be able to claim that credit. And if you're not able to claim that credit, you have to pay it again to the government. And that is where the biggest loss for the companies is. So what the software does is, say even if you have a 25 crore of turnover and 20% of your vendors have not filed the correctly, you can lose your 50 lakhs can be blocked in the working capital for the GST at will till the time a vendor files that. It's a huge amount for the company, especially at the time of such pandemics which is going on. If you were to do it manually, it would take again a huge amount of man days. It would be prone to human errors because it's complicated, it's not structured, the data is not structured, etc. And it can result into delayed reporting and a loss of capital, etc. So how the solution works is very simple. We upload the two-way, the purchase register on the platform. It could be multi-month, it could be multi-GST. So whatever data we upload, the system would do that reconciliation. We would map the column headings again, click on run the GST, and that's it. The software would automatically do those reconciliation, ignoring human errors, etc., and identifying that these are say 50 vendors and these are their respective 200 bills where either they have not filed it or they have not filed it correctly. So that is how the system would identify that. The system will not only stop at that identification, but it will also follow up and with all the vendors. So the system would send them the emailers like this, that a GST mismatch of this company is on this date. We have done the reconciliation. Click to view the reconciliation. If you have not found into it, it means you have to file GSTR1 on immediate basis. Not found into books, you have to check the correctness. If there is an amount mismatch, then make the necessary corrections in your system. So it gives them the mismatch types and what actions they have to take. So they can again click on this link to see the difference in the GST reconciliation and the reasons of that. And they can either give their they can either, if they are agreeing to that, they can give the screenshots of the corrections they have done. If they're disagreeing, they can say that I'm a composite dealer, I will be doing my filing in the next quarter, or whatever the case may be. So that is where the system, you as a company would come to know, the accounting would come to know that this is the credit I have availed. As per my books, this is the credit as per two-way. This much credit I would be visible to me in next couple of immediately once the party has done that in my GST two-way. And this many credits I'm not going to get in this month, but would be available in next month. It will help you accurately plan your cash flow for that aspect. Now coming to that is how the GST part would be resolved. Coming to the last part of it of the problem statement which we are looking at is your data management. So in data management, like I said, you can customize your own form. So let's say this is an example of collecting taxation details. You want to collect the PAN number, PAN card detail, PAN card copy, and you want to collect the GST, GST at copy, then MSME status, whether they are micro, small, medium, not applicable. So if they click on not applicable, they don't have to attach this MSME certificate. If they click micro, small, medium, they have to attach that. So that is how the data, you can design any form, any requirement, you can roll it out to the parties, it will send them, follow up with them, collect the response, it will validate on screen so that they cannot enter wrong details. Generally, what the companies in India do at a SME level, etc., they will make their own Excel file or and roll it out to the parties, but that validation are limited on that Excel file, or in most cases are not there. The party can enter a wrong details, it come to the company will analyze that and then again have to resend it. So here it will do those 90% of validation would be done online. So though you don't have to worry about that. What you have to worry about if there is any response which is incorrect, even after the basic validation is right, you can accept or reject, and you can reject the reason. So the party can actually just correct that field and submit it. So you don't have to spend time on sending, reminding, verifying, validating, etc. But it will automatically, everything would be automated via the system. So that is how, and you'll get the advanced reporting in terms of dashboard, in terms of Excel, MIS, everything would be available to you. So that is how the entire data management part is taken care of. Moving ahead, so right now this is how our all the problem statements is that what we'll do is quickly before we just open it for the Q&A session, we are almost at the verge of completion of this webinar. We'll give a quick brief about what is Firmware. So like I said, we were founded in 2016 with a vision that we will empower and enable the accounts team so that they can create this difference in their company. They can increase their profitability by 10%, which is a huge amount for any company, and a huge increase in profitability. And this can be done not by hiring tens of people, but it could be just deploying quick solutions into the system. Using the technology, you'll be able to do that. And that is where the solutions has been made in that perspective. And this we at Firmware has been supported by two major organizations. One is Institute of Chartered Accountants of India, and second is Bombay Stock Exchange Institute. Even our solutions like audit confirmations are listed on ICA website, wherein this solution is available to all the chartered accountants across India. So that is how we have got the support and the credibility of such organization. And right now the solution is being used by 400 plus corporates. This includes SMEs, listed companies, large entities, MNCs, global organizations, every one of them. But the way it is a SaaS-based solution, so it also takes care of an SME pricing as well as of an large enterprise pricing. It is also used by 150 plus CA firms across India and covering 45 plus industries. On major, the industries could be pharma, e-commerce, CFS, media, manufacturing, hospitality, etc., and not limited to only this industry. Because the problem is sector agnostic, industry agnostic. So that is a brief about us. These are some of the companies definitely you might be knowing who are actively using Firmware for resolving all these kind of an error issues. In pharma, we're working like with about IPCA. In e-commerce, we're working with like Lenskart, Nika. We are also working with PSO organizations like Balmer Lorry, and so forth. Global organizations like Sodexos, etc. And in terms of CA firms also across India, they've been using our system for a long time. SKP, CNK, Chaturvedi and Shah, Kunji Kuvarji, etc. Singhi and company. So there are multiple companies which are using the solution across India. Lastly, we have been incubated by ICI and BS Institute, the way we discussed that. We'll now be open to Q&A session. In terms of if there is any query, we will request you to submit in the Q&A tab, and we'll be able to handle those queries. So yeah, so I have a question that can you share more details on the mapping? So that is a query which has been raised. What I understand in terms of mapping, when it comes to either the GST or RECO mapping or the reconciliation mapping. So coming on the screen, let me just show you the mapping part of it. So if you can see my screen, once you upload both the files into the system, there is a system where mapping is there. So if it is an account reconciliation, the fields required are invoice number, the invoice date, document type, debit, credit, amount column, narration, TDS column, and all those columns. So the system will automatically take up these details from the file you have uploaded. It knows that invoice number is known as voucher reference number in Tally, document number in SAP, and so and so forth in other accounting software. You will also understand you have a double column in amount, whether there is a single column amount or there is a double debit and credit amount. So it will automatically pick up that, and you can, if there is some error, you can immediately change it on the face of it. You don't have to connect with the team to correct those details, and you can just save and proceed. Similarly, if there is a another in party file, it is known as reference number, invoice number, it will automatically understand that and do those matches. So that is how the reconciliation, the mapping is done on the GST reconciliation part of it. Sorry, the account reconciliation. GST reconciliation mapping is also similar. However, the fields are different. So in this, you will have fields like, yeah, so you'll have your supplier name, GST number, invoice date, currency, invoice value, taxable value, IGST, SGST, CAGST, tax amount, etc. So it again, it will understand, okay, it is GST at 2A format, it's your Tally ledger format, it's your SAP ledger format, and it will automatically do those modification and submit that. So that is how the mapping is taken care of. Another query is, can an internal auditor use firmware on client audits for his own purpose? Definitely, you can do that in terms of how, like I said, the solution is available to both auditors as well as the companies. So for the audit purpose, you can definitely go and do, whether you are an internal auditor or you are statutory auditor, you can select whether it's a management audit, statutory audit, or an internal audit. So accordingly, the internal auditor can also do the audit for their getting a direct confirmation from these parties and getting a direct access to the dashboard of the company. So that is also possible. The internal auditors can also use that, right? Further queries, you can also post that.
If anybody has any more questions, would request them to write it in the questions tab, please.
Okay, there is another query we have received is, does the counterparty require login credentials into the software to upload his confirmation? So that is absolutely not required. Like I said, the person will simply receive an email from the company stating that this is the balance confirmation of the company. Let me just show you that. So they'll just receive this letter email from the company, and they have to just click on this respond button. And as soon as they click on the respond button, they are coming on the platform. So those, they don't have to create a login, enter a password, etc. Save those passwords. It is simply just a email link. Click that, submit the details. So that is how that part is taken care of. Does this work? Another question we have got is, does this work on Mac as well? Yes, it will work on all accounting devices. Sorry, all IT laptops, all type of technological instruments, even on mobile, etc. It is mobile compatible, so that way it would be able to work on all systems. Another query is what would be the license cost annually for a CA firm? So the license cost for a CA firm is definitely at a very discounted price. You can visit our platform ICAI pricing for the chartered for firmware, and you can receive those pricing for audit confirmations only. For balance confirmations, etc. Definitely there is we can connect offline on that particular pricing for the CFO.
Mr. Prashant, I think that was the last question. Uh, if
Sure.
anybody has any more questions, I would request them to write it to info@rispro.in, and we would get back to you through email. Thank you, Mr. Prashant, for a wonderful webinar.
Thank you. So thank you, Mona Lisa. Thank you, everyone, for this particular session. We hope we were able to add certain value to everyone, and we hope it will inspire few people to go to the mode of digitization and digital transformation. Thank you, everyone, for today.
Thank you, everyone, for joining the webinar. Have a nice day.